Hi everyone, my name is Suzanne and I'm a Chinese metaphysics master in Hong Kong. Today we're going to look at mental blocks and self-sabotage, and we all have them, so don't feel embarrassed, but we're all dealing with self-sabotaging behavior and sort of like mental issues, mental blocks where we keep telling ourselves certain things that are just in our minds, essentially. And so very often we create these self-fulfilling prophecies by having this one repeated pattern or mental pattern in our minds. And with Qimen Dunjia, we can actually identify what it is that holds us back from achieving greatness. And once we know that, we can reverse that thought pattern, or we are much more acutely aware of these sort of thoughts once they appear, and we can quickly stop them or kind of like chase them away. And that way, it's going to be easier for us to, you know, to relieve some of these self-sabotaging behaviors that we exhibit all the time, right? So in Qimen Dunjia, this is actually quite easily seen in a destiny chart. So what you need to do, you need to plot your own destiny chart via the link that's here on the screen. And I'm also going to put it in the description to the video. Now, what's important is with Qimen Dunjia, in order to be able to plot your correct natal chart, you need to know your time of birth. So that is essential. If you don't know your time of birth, you may still get a natal chart, but it's the incorrect one. So it's quite important that you know your time of birth. Now, once you enter this data into the plotter, you will get a chart like this. It may look slightly different, don't worry, but more or less it will look like this. And what we're focusing on is the box, we call it the palace, where you have this red rectangle, and that says destiny. That is your destiny palace. And in that destiny palace, we have a lot of components that tell us specifically about how we behave in our lives and when we encounter certain situations, what our thought patterns generally are by default. And so this is where we find our mental block, or one of our mental blocks. Now, what we focus on in the Destiny Palace is this part here. This is called the door. So you look at the bottom center of your palace of your box, and you will have a life door or open door, delusion door, harm door, whatever. Just check what you have there. It doesn't say door here, it just says delusion, but in Qimen Dunjia, this component is called the door. And this is the door to our mind, to our thoughts. So check what you have there, and this will give you information about what it is that mentally at least holds you back in life. All right. Now, let's go through the 8 doors and what they could potentially mean for you and what you need to change. All right, so first one is the life door. Anybody has a life door in their Destiny Palace? One of your biggest mental blocks is our thoughts of scarcity. Yeah, those who have the life door in the Destiny Palace, they tend to focus on what they don't have rather on what they do have. And they tend to always fear that there's not enough for them, or that generally there's not enough of XYZ. Most of the times it's money related, yeah, or financial, revolves around financial blocks, right? So it's always that fear of not having enough money. And when you have that sense of scarcity, you'll always you may come across as a little bit greedy because you're so focused on material things that it blocks you from seeing what you could otherwise contribute. And you know, it's not always overtly visible, but for yourself, like the biggest thing is, okay, I need to make enough money. Shit, I don't have enough money right now, even though you may have enough, but this is always a worry. So this is something that you need to work on over the course of your life in order to become a little bit more optimistic or happy in life, right? Whenever you have this scarcity mindset come in, you need to actually look around and realize what it is that you do have, rather than constantly focusing on what you don't have. And again, this is not just in terms of money, but it could be in terms of health or friendships or possessions or feelings or emotions or whatever it is, right? This is what you need to work on. This is the sort of mental block you need to work on. Now, the next one is the open door. So if you have the open door in your Destiny Palace, then your mental block is basically that you're very bad at taking decisions. You don't really like taking decisions to begin with, especially when it's the important ones, right? So you tend to run away from important decisions, and then you come across as extremely indecisive. And what's worse is that you forget to listen to your instincts and your gut feeling. Rather, you listen to too many opinions. You ask everyone for their opinion, and that doesn't necessarily help with ultimately taking a decision, because if you have 100 different opinions, how are you going to decide which one is the right one? So you need to learn to look at the situation, look at the facts on the ground, and take a decision based on that. Also in combination with your own gut feel, rather than running away from decisions. And obviously this is important, especially when it comes to critical life decisions. It's not to say that you can't ask for help or advice, right? But maybe not from 10, 20 different people. Maybe just have this one person in your life who is a very good advisor, who's a mentor to you maybe, and that's the kind of person you can ask for advice. And then with that, you can make better decisions. A good way of learning this is also just to start small, with small decisions, right? So for example, if you and a group of friends go out for dinner, rather than leaving the decision about where to go to the others, you're the one who steps up and says, no, today we're going to go to this place. You step up, take that decision, and take ownership. Yeah, small things like that will teach you that it's not so scary, right? So that's the open door. Now, the next one is the harm door. Anybody who has the harm door in the life palace, they just there's actually no problem. All is going well, but they create the problems themselves because they just seem to like to self-sabotage. So maybe a relationship is going really, really well, and then they do something to screw it up out of nowhere. Or maybe work is going quite well, and they're enjoying their work, they have good co-workers, good relationship with their boss, but then they do something. It's almost like if everything is going too well, they get bored. So they need to learn to just be grateful for what they have and not create problems out of nowhere. Because for those with the harm door, there isn't actually, they don't actually have that much of a mental block. They just create upsets and stressful situations all by themselves. So it all goes back to them. All right. Now we've got the rest door. So if you have the rest door in your Destiny Palace, then your mental block has to do with momentum. So it's very difficult for these people to stay in the momentum. Yeah, the moment they stop doing what they're doing, they stagnate. So they need to keep going. They need to keep the momentum. For example, if you, let's say they try to study a new subject matter, and maybe that will take a year. And so at the beginning, they have a lot of momentum, they're energized, and they really want to do it, they're passionate about it. And then they take a break. Maybe they go on holiday, they take a break for a month. And then after that, it's really, really difficult for them to get back into the zone, to just mentally get back into the place where they were before, where they're enthusiastic about what they're learning. So that is sort of, that is their mental block, yeah? The moment they stop, they lose that drive. And so what's important for them is to keep going and not stop when they're doing something. Then the next one is the death door. Death door, it sounds very bad, but don't be afraid, right? Death door is not actually a bad thing to have in your destiny chart. It doesn't mean that you die sooner or whatever. The death door in this particular context means that they tend to get stuck in a particular emotional state or mental state or just a particular situation and can't get out of it. So emotionally, for example, it's very difficult for them to overcome failure. So if a relationship hasn't worked out, it's very difficult to overcome that. And same, maybe at work, if you get fired or if you experience a setback, it seems overwhelming and you get stuck in that sort of like depressive feeling of it's never going to get better. So they need to actively find ways or tools to lift them up and get out of that state of being stuck. So they need to unstuck themselves, right? Whatever it is that they need to do to just change and reframe that mindset must be done. Otherwise, they're just going to be eternally stuck with a particular mental block or with a particular trauma in the worst case scenario. Now, the next one is the delusion door, like in this particular case here. So this one here is a delusion door. Delusion door people, they tend to be a little bit too introverted. So oftentimes they are quite okay with just being behind the scenes and being almost invisible. And they tend to be a little bit too private for their own good. So, for example, they may have a fantastic idea and create something that is genius. But they won't tell anybody about it. They're not really promoting themselves. They're not really putting it out there. And so a lot of their potential goes unnoticed. Now, this is not one of the worst mental blocks that can happen. But if you are someone who actually wants to advance in life and wants to be super successful, then this is something that can hold you back. So people who have the delusion door in their destiny palace, they need to learn to come a little bit more out of their shell. They need to learn to share their success with other people. And it's very, very important that they actually have at least one person to share their thoughts and ideas with. Someone that they trust, someone who's not going to betray their trust. Because obviously, if you have a fantastic idea, especially if it's a business idea, you don't want them, don't want these ideas to be stolen. So have someone you can trust that you can bounce ideas off of. That's important. Then we have the Feodor. So Feodor people, or people have the Feodor in their destiny palace, they tend to be overly scared of either everything or of one particular thing in life. They tend to think of failure first. They're very good at always imagining the worst case scenario. And so that obviously holds them back from doing a lot of things in life that require to just ignore that voice in your head that tells you all those 1,000 ways things can turn sideways. Now, I'm not recommending that you are completely forgetting about risk analysis in life, right? That's not the purpose here. But actually, it's important to analyze whether those fears that you have are rooted in any sort of real situation or in reality, or whether this is just something that you've made up. Very often, or in most cases, for people who have the Feodor in the Destiny Palace, the danger is just in their mind. Yeah, and it's not real. So they need to learn to overcome that and face their fears in order to become much, much more successful in life. And then lastly, we have the scenery door. So people who have the scenery door in their destiny palace, their mental block is created because they care way too much about what other people think of them. They care what other people think about their outfit, how they look, what they say, what they do. Everything is about reputation and appearance. Now, obviously, it's important to have a good reputation, but you can't control what everybody thinks about you. You can do everything right, and there will always be a few people who still don't like you. And so if it comes to the point where you are being held back because you care too much about what other people think about you, then you stagnate in life. And so you need to overcome that fear, or you need to overcome that that need to be validated by everybody around you. Yeah. Again, maybe have one or two really close friends, and those are the ones who give you feedback on certain things, how you come across, listen to those people, but not everyone, right? You cannot make everyone happy. All right. So these are the mental blocks that we tend to struggle with based on the door we find in our Qimen Destiny Palace. Now, there are other mental blocks that we have, of course, but these are usually the ones that are most prominent in our lives. And now that we know about it, whenever that pops up in your head and stops you from doing something, remember this and try to reverse it, overcome it, and then move forward. All right. I hope this helped you guys. Let me know how it works for you. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to me. I'm available to do full-on Qimen Destiny analyses as well, where we go into much, much more detail. My contact details are in the description of the video, so you can contact me, reach out to me. And in the meantime, please do share this video with anybody who may find this useful. Give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. See you guys soon. Take care.